This is a reconvening of a meeting that we recessed yesterday. It's a special meeting that we're doing evaluations. So this morning, we've completed the evaluations of the people that we do in executive session, and we have the scores, the compilation of their data. And we have one GPA employee, John Kim, and two from GWA, Teresa, and our legal counsel, and Tulling, our CFO also for GWA. Let's start with John Kim, if you don't mind. So John Kim, if you look at the sheet, ended up with a score of 3.7.
For operation. Is that how we
For
read
total.
it? Oh, you're under the total.
Yeah,
on the
going
back.
to
We're
the-
going to do it as summary. Okay.
Yeah.
On the back side, there's
So
the-
3.7,
7.
which is what is 4?
3 is meets,
3 is me.
4 is exceeds.
Okay, so he clearly met in our cumulative review.
And he's
and
closer
was
to the
closer
4.
to exceeds.
Right.
3.7 out of.
Yeah, and if you look at the Guam Power Authority script here, you know, this one, you'll see where he is on the bottom there, you know.
He's currently.
The ones on the bottom are the 2017 market data, right? That's correct. Okay, so the top has a compilation for your information of where the 22 would be or whatever, but we're just doing the 2017.
Why would we use the 22?
Because we haven't, as a policy call,
We haven't adopted it
we
yet.
haven't adopted it yet. But, you know, that would come. And you know, if we did adopt the 22, we could reslot them into where that would be with the rest of the
I think we
company.
got to revisit it, right? I mean, to
No,
me,
no.
if the 22, to me, just for discussion, if the 22 is available, this is the data, why not use it? It's more current, rather than we have to formally adopt it, then we go back and redo this. We're doing it now, get it done with.
So de facto will prove it, but I
Unless
would
there's an
note,
objection to 22, make that.
I will note that, like I stated earlier, both GP and GWA have budgeted for it,
Which one?
okay, for the 22%.
For the
Not the
22
I'm sorry, whatever
market data.
percentile we're gonna go into,
The 20th percentile at the new wage determination,
Yeah.
right?
whatever we decide.
Yeah.
There's a budget set aside if you want to
So
use
the only
that.
thing is if
We don't know if it's gonna be enough, or, because if you look at the Searle presentation, right, he gave what can happen if we do certain scenarios.
But if I read this correctly, John Ray, the 4% increase slotted, that takes the 4% increase slotted on the bottom table for John Kim would take him to close to the 20th percentile in the 2022 survey, right?
That is correct.
Okay. Is that how this was formulated? Was to try and see what percent increase would be needed to get them into the 2022 20th percentile?
No, we just wanted to provide you perspective. Again, the green identifies the 2017 raw market data, which is what we have in place currently. 2022 is what's to be adopted. On the bottom, you know, we wanted to come forward just like all the rest of the employees at a 2%, 3%, 4% of where they're currently, of what they're currently making. And then that would be the respective slotting. So an example, Mr. Kim, he's currently making 146,177. At a 2%, it'll bring him to 149,159. That's a 2,982 difference.
What percentile would he be in?
On the 2017, the 149 will bring him closer to the 30th market percentile of the 2017 market data.
The 2022nd.
Yeah, that's what I was saying, is that
Yes.
at the 4%, right, you can see on the 20th percentile for the 2022 survey, it would be 152,987. At a 4% increase, it'd be 152,157. Is that correct?
That's correct. That's correct.
Okay,
If we gave, okay, so.
assuming we gave
Now,
you.
the other thing I would point out, I had asked John Ray and Tina just before he came in, when we got the presentation from Alan Searle for both GP and GWA, he came up with a number to get us to the 2022 market data wages. And so I asked him, I said, so what there's that first number, I think yours like 2,900,000, and I think we're 2
Okay.
million, and GWA's is a little higher. But as a percentage of increase for the company, like what the rest of the government did, the 22%, that would represent what, John? Just off the top of your head, we're not holding you to it.
All right, so it should be anywhere from 5 to 10%, I mean, differential.
So in other words, if we did adopt the 2022 market data, even if we made everybody move, we're talking about a movement of some people are already higher, some people are a little lower. But as a company, it would represent a 5 to 10% increase in our payroll costs, as opposed to, looking at what they do in the government where they wait a long time and then they make a movement and it ends up being at 22% across everybody. So I think it's frugal, but the only thing I bring up is if we do the 4%, that absolves that problem. But it's just that we haven't formally adopted the 2022 market data, okay? Which we're going to have a meeting on, scheduled meeting for that. In fact, let me ask you a question. Would you like to have that as part of our regular CCU meeting, or do you want
In
to have
November?
in November, or do you want to have a special meeting just for that?
I think you should add it.
Okay,
Because
no problem.
Yeah, more importantly than, it's important with the group we're doing now, the executive management, but the rest of the company needs to know
Yeah.
what is the
What we're
standard
going to
we're
do.
trying to get
Yeah.
the employees to, so we can attract and retain employees. We've lost a lot of
We've lost
employees
good
to the federal
people.
government. It's going on in the private sector, huge,
Yeah.
right? But
So I'm open to that. I just need some guidance. So I will slot that as an agenda item for the next meeting, for our next CCU meeting.
I think it's important to get it on
The
the
November.
regular meeting,
Yes.
and whether we probably should be prepared to adopt it or not adopt it.
Yeah.
address,
If
yeah.
we're going to discuss this stuff. So
Okay, so,
Oh,
Yeah.
wait till we
so
adopt it
thank you
and
for
then
the
do this.
guidance.
I'm thinking that we did deliberate it now, but maybe we need to adopt that. If the commission choose to adopt it, then we would have formalized that strategy, right?
Yeah.
So whether we're going to go that route or not.
So my thinking is, because we have all the data, we could slot it we could keep it at the 20, for these individuals, we could keep it at the 20th percentile, the 15th percentile. We have the latest data. We've used a professional consultant, for the record, for the public. Alan Searles has done, in fact, Alan Searles has been the wage consultant, not just, started with GPWA, but now does it for the airport. Almost all the autonomous agencies use Mr. Searles. So we have a professional that measures wages across, for comparative utilities in our case, across the planet, particularly the United States and our region. And he's already given us, even though we haven't adopted it yet, he's given us where the 22 survey is indicating the percentiles would be. And in his presentation to the board at the last meeting, he noted that we had a goal back when we started all of this, when we first got certified technical professional legislation. We started this whole process in 2008, so we've been doing this for 15 years. He's been doing the wage surveys all along. And so my only thinking is, whether, to me, I have enough data seeing the 2022 numbers for these 5 or 6 people to make a decision, because again, we could, whatever we decide for the group, for this particular group of individuals, we can put them in the 5th percentile, the 80th percentile, we have the
can put
data
that in
now.
there.
And we have the data from Alan, so we just haven't formally adopted it, but just so that we don't have to waste
You know
today's
what?
meeting.
We can just slot them anywhere we want to.
Yeah,
Or-
right.
And then we'll
We'll deal with
Deal with
the
the
whole
company,
company when we get
November's
there.
meeting.
But for the record, it's been a consistent goal of this commission over all the years
Yes.
to try to keep everyone in roughly the same percentile. But we recognize there are some unique
Yes.
positions, difficult to recruit, that sometimes we, as the chairman said, Mr. Searle does a regression analysis, and some people are above the curve and some people are below the curve. We try to push the curve, the ones below, up by taking a group decision. And sometimes if someone's above the curve, maybe it's a smaller adjustment, maybe it's no adjustment, right?
But it's also based on.
But it's based
needs
on a wage survey done by a professional, and
And
that's,
retention
yeah.
goals.
So that's why I'm comfortable if my colleagues are comfortable.
Okay.
to deal with these individuals now. We have the data. Then at the next formal CCU meeting, we can do it for the whole company. And it sort of sets the tone. Whatever, let's say we say, for the sake of discussion, our goal is the 20th percentile for management, then it's something we can think about when we have the meeting for the rest of the company. Oh, for the managers, we only did the 20th percentile. Personally, I advocate for at least the 25th percentile. We have learned from Mr. Searle that we crept up to the 25th percentile after 2008, but over the last few years, with inflation and all the other things that are going around the world, we were surprised to learn. I was surprised to learn when he gave us the 2022 data, how far we had fallen back. And his summary was, our wages have not kept pace with competitive wages in our industry for like positions. And anecdotally, we're seeing how many engineers and how many people have we lost to the federal government in recent months because of our pay is too low.
Okay.
So, for the next meeting, the discussion would be on the 25th, not on the 22nd.
I think the thinking is, we as a group would say,
Yeah.
for the company overall,
Yeah.
what percentile are we comfortable with? And that helps dictate what raises the whole company might receive,
Yes.
right?
I
But
think-
because
I
we're
think it's
tackling
what-
these five.
But it's not just the percentile, it's the adoption of the new wage survey.
Yeah.
Because I think the percentile,
Well, it's in the wage survey. To me, when you adopt the wage survey, you're adopting where these percentiles
And he made
sit,
that,
right,
he made
for
that
position.
25, he has a 25%.
yeah, but whether it's the 20 or 25th, that's not the.
No, but
that's
but
really
he
just
did
the
have that
adoption of the
study for the
survey.
25th.
Yeah, he's shown us, and that's how
Yeah.
HR is getting all these numbers.
Yeah.
He's shown us what the 10th, 15th,
Yes.
20th, 25th percentile.
Okay.
Okay, so,
John Ray, Teresa's calculations are incorrect. The percentage increases are wrong.
John Ray,
Sure. Teresa would be under GWA.
is this
Will
wrong?
Teresa's percent increase table, can you just
Okay.
check it? It looks inaccurate.
Yeah, while we're discussing this, can you go
You mean
check?
multiplying it times 2%?
Yeah.
A 2% increase is,
It's not.
that 141 is higher than 2%.
Okay, so just to do that, but John Ray, you've got your stuff, right?
Yes.
Let's talk about John Kim. That's where we're
Okay,
at.
yep.
So what do we want to do? So
And what was his grade, 3.7?
3.7.
Across all the different categories?
that's the cumulative total.
Right. And we looked at his management of operations,
Yeah.
finance, people, information. I say this more just for the public if they're viewing it, and then their personal competencies. Just that these are the various criteria we use, and it's weighted, and these are the scores. And Mr. Skim's aggregate score was 3.7,
Right.
which is meets or exceeds expectations.
Closer to exceeds.
Closer to
Closer to
exceeds
exceeds.
expectations.
And the point is that in all of his areas, he exceeded, he went over 3.4, 3.7, 3.9, but the aggregate, of course, is 3.7. But he didn't fall below 3 in anything. Correct. That's important to know. So,
I'll make a motion then, Mr. Chair.
okay,
I move then that Mr. Kim, based on the schedule provided, that we go with a 4% slotted, which reads, if I'm correct, reading this correctly, $100,157. Am I reading that right? It's the pinkish?
correct.
yes, that's correct.
Okay, that is my motion,
And, okay.
that's the 150.
at a 4%
Okay,
increase.
I want to make sure I get it right. 152, 157? Is that the
Right.
one you're reading?
It's the one here on this last page.
Okay,
And it's a 4%
it's 4%, right?
proposed adjustment.
Yes,
Yeah, I'll second it for the sake of discussion, yes.
okay. So now,
So
any
where would that
further
put
comments?
him, where would that?
It would put him-
52, what percentile would he be?
He'd be-
35th?
22.
On the 2017 or the
Oh, I'm sorry,
2022?
On the 2022.
On the
He'd be at
2022,
the
it'll
20th.
put him close to the 20th, yeah.
Okay. Okay. So, well, we haven't as a group, we haven't said what's the group target, but at least Mr. Kim would be at the 20th percentile. The last criteria we used was the 25th percentile.
Yeah, where the recommendation is to move GPA to what percentile of the 2022 data?
Based off Alan's recommendation, he had two. One would be to the 25th, and the second one would be to the 20th, based on affordability.
Okay.
Based on affordability.
Based
So
on
he's
affordability.
slotted. Right there.
Yeah. So he's on the affordability issue, he's there. We don't know GPA. When we talk to the general managers, we'll find out more when we do the meeting, on our November meeting. We'll discuss that with them, their thoughts on affordability and whether they can go to the 24th. Okay, so that's the motion on the floor. Any further discussion?
The only thing that I would have to add is that, just to reiterate, the performance of John Kim and the fact that he did, in fact, rate above, above meets expectation, closer to exceeds expectations. And I think we're all in agreement that he's done a good job for the
Yes, I think I agree. He's done a good
Just
job.
one last question.
Sure.
When does this become effective?
Okay, we usually make our adjustments effective the first pay period in July. John, right? January, I'm sorry. Sorry about that. Yeah, I would be bad if I made it.
The good news and bad news.
Usually the first
That's July
payroll period in
2025.
January, right? And we make our adjustments.
That is correct.
So historically, whenever we do our evaluations.
1
in November,
January.
well,
Whatever
payroll.
first
So,
payday.
yeah,
First full
the
payroll.
beginning of that payroll week would be December 31st, which is a Sunday.
Happy New Year.
happy.
There you go.
Okay.
Perfect.
So
There we go. So
that's
that
the effect.
stated in the motion
Okay,
then,
you
Mr. Chair.
you want to amend the motion to?
I'm not gonna, I'll restate the motion.
Okay,
that
restate the motion.
We, consider a 4% increase for Mr. Kim with an effective date of, pay period beginning December 31st, 2023.
That's 152, 157.
Correct.
John?
That is correct.
And it's a $5,980 raise
Okay.
from his current pay.
Okay.
Is that pay period ending, pay period beginning?
Pay period beginning.
Beginning, PPG.
So
Beginning
their first
December
check would be in
31st?
January.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Beginning?
Beginning December 31st. Pay period beginning December 31st.
Yeah.
That's the actual first pay period in January.
Yeah.
So, any further discussion? Okay. All those in favor? signify-
Roll call, Mr. Chair.
Oh, okay.
Roll call. That way it's for the record.
Okay.
Go ahead.
I go first.
Sure.
I vote yes.
Aye.
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 Aye. 5 ayes. It's
5 ayes.
unanimous. Okay.
Thank you, Larissa.
Unanimous.
You gotta put that in the minutes. That's a roll call. Okay,
That's
next.
right. Next, is Tullings. Did you see if Tullings was okay on the average?
Yeah, Tullings looks accurate.
Okay, so while we're waiting for Zena to come back, let's talk about Tulling. And Tulling rated, the cumulative total was a 4. Actually, he had a 4. He did very well.
Which means exceeds expectations.
Exceeds expectations, so,
You know, this is a whole new industry to her, and she's really mastered it.
yeah,
And come up fast. Works well with us, works well with management.
and
as far as
supports her employees.
And is very good with employees and
Yeah.
new data, new information.
Training, availability, so
Very solid
very
performance.
solid performance.
Her rating.
So I'll make a motion then, Mr. Chair, to, based on our review, based on her performance, that she be, based on a 4% increase for a total amount of 149,159.
What percentile would
That will be,
That would be closer to the 15
15%
on the 2022.
on the 2022.
Still below the
Still
25th
below.
percentile. That's how far our wages have fallen.
furthermore,
Competitively.
Yeah, furthermore, in GPWA.
Okay.
So, if you want to get them to the 20th, which is lowest.
But what, see, here's the question I have, right, is what's gonna happen when we come to that next meeting, Mr. Chairman and colleagues, because does that mean that if we go to that percentage and we, all of a sudden it's there, does that mean potentially, say we choose,
The 30th.
the issue for me now is affordability.
Yes.
Right, once we,
I
that
think it should
becomes
be-
the issue.
Yeah, it's an
Yeah.
issue. That should be, among making sure that the utility can function.
Afford.
It's definitely an affordability issue.
I mean, we come from the world, you don't get pay raises, you can't afford it.
Yeah.
Period.
No, that's a good point.
that's
So
the discussion.
I'm just saying, let's talk about it, you know.
Right now, we know we can. So I
Now-
think that becomes a separate discussion when we're talking to the GMs.
Yeah.
Yeah, you-
I would only say this, that,
Can we entertain this motion first?
well,
That's
there's no second.
Let's
Thank you.
second,
Okay.
second the
Oh, you're
motion
gonna
for
second?
discussion.
Okay, okay.
Perfect.
Is there a second?
You're the
Second,
second.
second.
That's what you said, right? You're
Yes,
seconding?
but I want to
Okay.
bring it up for discussion.
Okay.
yeah.
Okay.
Okay, so, you know, I would, my thought is that the executive side of our company, the ones we actually hire, the ones that are at the very top of our totem pole, I would argue that we put them higher basically than the rest of the company. We've always done that. It's just that they've fallen back because the wages have moved so much, to me, anyway. So I would not, I think we can give her a salary wherever we want to slot her, and then with the rest of the company will be catching up. Okay, so I don't have that problem. I'm gravitating towards Commissioner Sanchez's thought of at least let's get to this person to the 20th percentile, you know? So, Commissioner Sanchez.
So, I mean, this is an excellent discussion. At least for me, I've been comfortable with the way we've thought about it in the past when we do this. Trying to get the whole company to the 25th percentile. And Alan Searle has shown us what the impact would be financially if we were to adopt that standard, let's say, for this review. Because my memory of it was, especially in 2008 when we went to Senator Brown and Senator Clitson, we would train the linemen and then they'd move to Anaheim. And we were just losing, and they would go through our training and then leave us, right? Yeah. And it was a real challenge. So we said, let's professionalize how we do our wages for certified technical professional positions, right? And these are them, right? But for the small team that leads everyone, you know, I'm like the chairman. We have, if the performance merits, you know, we have said, even if the whole company's at the 25th, you know, these are the most key people, and these are the only people we review, right? And so, sort of in fairness to them, we have to say, you know, how was your review? And do we say, well, because we're not moving everyone else up, or we may move them up differently, you know, I'm going to, you know, change my thinking on your particular pay raise or your pay raise. I've always separated management. I don't know if it's right or wrong, just what we've done. We've always sort of separated management, because we think management is often the hardest one to fill, per se. We can get cashiers, right? And so far we've been able to get linemen and that. But like I'm going through in Saipan, trying to find a general manager, trying to find people that want to work for utilities and these small communities.
Engineers.
You know, it's very difficult. Yeah. And so I'm okay if it's not a perfect match between management's percentile and
The rest of the
team. But personally, I always try to at least shoot for the 25th. That was the original goal. What have we learned from Mr. Searle? We've been moving people up for the last 15 years, and guess what? 15 years later, we're not at the 25th, because the rest of the world has advanced pay even more aggressively than us. So the 25th to me still kind of is a nice benchmark to shoot for. And as both Commissioner Santos and the chair pointed out, when we get to the group, Alan Searle's already done the numbers for us, depending on what percentile we wish to choose. And, you know, payroll is a very small component of both GPA and GWA rate. For GPA, it's tiny. It's the LEAC and debt service are the two biggest amounts that consume a power bill. We haven't, and the base rate pays salaries. We haven't changed the base rate in over a decade, yet we've managed to pay our people, move them up, and yet what do we find with the latest survey? We're back to the 15th, 20th percentile. So we still, arguably, we haven't moved them up aggressively enough if 25 was our number. Now we're having to debate validly, well, is it still 25? Should it be 20? You know, for me, at least from management, I'm still comfortable with trying to shoot for the 25th and or reward exceptional performance if it's beyond the 25th, because I want to retain Tallinn. I want to retain, you know, we'll see how the other reviews are, but at least for John Kim, we want to retain him. We've made a decision for a raise. I want to retain Tallinn. Now debate what's the right level. I'm comfortable with paying management at least 25th percentile as a competitive. So that's just my personal view, Chairman.
Well, let me, for me, I would like to really put her up here on the, at least get her into this 20th number here, the 152. And, you know, she, just looking at all the performance she has done from last year, and including the typhoon that we had, and the recovery and documentations and those, she's really working at it. We also have a bond market next year, right? For
For GW, yes, we're going to go to the bonds.
So
We're
that's
going to
gonna-
go to the bond market.
Yeah, and that's going to require a lot of work aside from what she's doing for the Guam Water Works. So, you know, I'm a believer too of a person that really can excel and do extra work. It doesn't take much to do, you know, just to put in an extra word on that one. That you compensate for that performance on that one. And so my thoughts and my recommendation would be to move her up to that 20th. When we come to the next discussion, that's another issue, that's another topic. But for now, we want to close this, and we want to, you know, give our managers what we think is they're deserving for the work they have done since they started here.
So is your number the 152,987?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, that's your proposal, right?
Yes.
Okay. Is that
I think, you know, just so that we're on the same page, that, you know, as far as parity, right, the 4% that we gave to John Kim is at 152, 157, so maybe the compromise would be to get him at the same,
Match it.
so that our CFOs are being paid, you know, it's the same.
Yeah, that's
Oh,
fine.
I'm sorry, what would that number, so what would that number?
It would be less
Matching
than,
John Kim's
yeah, 152, 157.
It would go to
Only,
152,987.
$600 difference.
Oh, okay.
$700,
So just,
$800.
Match John
just,
Kim.
but, yeah. so-
Oh, you mean
yeah.
drop her down
It would be,
$800
it would be,
Comparable
it
pay.
would be
Comparable.
just
Because
under.
arguably John's been with us longer, right? So you could say, okay,
That's good, Mike.
but anyway,
Okay.
we're in the ballpark, that's for sure.
Well, it's a
I'll make it real
50%,
simple, Mr.
it's a
Chairman. I withdraw my
50%
motion.
increase over
Okay,
the pay
okay,
increase for
okay.
John Kim, so.
Okay, so,
Okay, I withdraw my motion, so we're good.
so wait, Zena, what would be the number if we went closer to John Kim's number? John Kim's number is 152, 157.
Yeah, so it's a little less than
Sitting-
60,
you're
a little less
sitting
than
the
6%,
Number for
yeah.
culling that gets you to 152, what would that number be?
It's 6.2%, so it's like a
6%.
50% increase over John Kim's rates.
The difference would be the.
6.2.
6.2%?
I'm doing it the
Oh,
way you guys
that's the
do it.
same, so.
I'm doing it the way you do it.
Okay, so
6.2%.
if you did the 152, 157, according to Zena, that she also has that on her pay scale, so she
We
can
have the
slot
same
in
pay
it.
scale.
It's not quite the 20 percentile, but it's
Yeah, thank you.
close to.
No problem.
What was Stallings?
But we're not putting it in a percentile, we're just
Right,
giving
right.
her a percentage
Yeah.
increase in.
Right,
no,
it's a number,
but-
it's not
We're gonna
a,
give her a number.
Yeah.
giving her a number.
Right.
What was
and-
Stallings' number overall rating compared to John's? Wasn't that a higher score?
How much higher?
A little higher, a little higher,
Yeah.
a little
Well,
higher.
that-
They're
okay.
both
3.7 versus
0.3.
4.9.
Okay,
point
so,
three.
and we're in discussion right on possible pay adjustments, right?
Correct.
Okay,
Yeah,
so
we can do anything.
I like the 20th percentile, the 152,987. I didn't worry about $800 between her and John. Okay. It's a
So-
number, there's a basis, that's what the math came out, and it's still roughly a 6% increase, because she was rated higher than John was, even though both were rated well. So I'm comfortable with that 20th percentile, 152,987.
For
If we
both of
shot for the, well, no, I'm just doing
Oh, it's just probably,
to me, we're done with John, right?
Right.
Yeah,
But, and I know that if we went for the 25th percentile, she would be making 156.8. We're not taking her there.
no,
We're saying we'll keep her at the 20th, and it's 152,987. I'm very comfortable, that's my personal,
You wanna make a motion?
comfortable. We didn't make a motion on the
No,
numbers,
not
right?
yet.
Okay.
Not yet. Yeah, I withdrew my motion, so we're back
okay.
to the motion.
I make a motion that based on her excellent rating, that we move Tolling to the 20th percentile in the 2022 wage survey of Alan Searle to the amount of $152,987.
Second.
And that's a 6% increase?
6.7%.
6.7%.
1.6,
yeah,
rounding out, 7%.
yeah, 152,987, right?
Yes, sir.
That's the number?
That's the 20th percentile that's
Okay.
shown from HR.
Okay. Yeah,
Sorry if I may add. So the raw data of the 152,987 is basically raw, meaning that's what the market's paying. We still need to implement it based off the positions that we do have, and then adopt a pay scale. So if we, or for Telling, if you give her the 152,987, we're gonna adopt that, but not on our pay scale, if that
Not on
makes
the pay
sense.
scale.
That's
Just that
correct.
number.
Just that number.
Just that number.
If that's what you guys are.
that's what we're talking about. Yeah, that's what
In
we're
the
doing.
end, we're going to adopt a salary number.
At some point,
That's
we're
the
gonna-
number.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay,
That's the motion, right?
That's the motion. Second?
152,987.
Second already.
second, okay. Further discussion.
So you, from a, just from a, you know, I know, but from a perception standpoint, I mean, you just don't want the salaries to be the same for the CFO? I mean, we're talking a small differential, right?
Yeah.
But it's just, you know.
I would support that. That's what I thought we were gonna do. That's why I asked the
So,
question.
well, the reason I was willing to, the fact that we asked Alan to actually survey power wages, survey
Water
wastewater wages, and the companies are slightly different. I mean, that's why I was comfortable with using his wage scale, because I know when we get to the big picture, when you talk about the company as overall, I'm only gonna use Alan Searle's wage scale. We're not going over 300 people's pay, right? So that's why I went to 20th, knowing that we haven't even reached 25th. And I'm okay that the wage scales are slightly different. They're designed to be different. We didn't ask Alan to survey for, one wage scale for all companies. He specifically does, here's your power wage scale, here's your wastewater wage scale.
No, it's the same.
you-
It's the same wage scale.
It's the same-
That's why I'm asking, why aren't we just, it's either we adjust John Kim's or we adjust Tolling's, one of the two, but they're the same.
Yeah, and could I just?
No,
I'd like, no,
It's
I-
still-
I think at the
Yeah,
20th.
Yeah, I'd like to just add one thing, okay? Here's the thing, I would agree with you when we were talking about engineers, but we're talking about CPAs. And to me, the CPAs have to learn, of course, the business. One learns electric business, one learns the power, water, and power business. But I would tend to agree with Commissioner Chalco. I would say, let's just put them on the same pay. Because they came in with the same, they're very close in terms of their evaluation, to me.
But, yeah,
So I appreciate the parity discussion, I appreciate it. And the only reason I would have an $800 difference is Tolling at a higher rate. And it's a good debate, but we're only debating $800.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
so that's the basis for,
Okay.
that's the basis
So-
for my motion,
So
right?
that's, no, we have a motion on the floor. There's this discussion going on, which is all good. So if we're finished with the discussion, do we want to vote on the motion?
let me just
Okay,
add something.
sure.
I see that, I mean, granted, they're both CPAs and great CPAs
Yeah.
for us, but I think Tulling's, what I see moving forward with Tulling, she's got a lot more on her plate in the next, I would
Oh,
say,
yeah.
a year or two with a bond thing. We're not even done with our rate design. He brought up a very good point yesterday. At what point are we gonna be Rothstein? Okay, the financial modeling, I think, is
Is it a
important to us.
good way to spend the money versus
And,
having Tolling take it over?
And I think we're starting to recognize that we're paying these people a lot of money.
Yeah.
The question I think that we were asking ourselves that day was telling, are you gonna be able to do this? And I think she can. I mean, I think,
Well,
we need, I mean, I've always been on the
I
concept,
agree.
train us
I
to
agree.
do this stuff on our own, because at the end of the day, it's a model.
It's
right?
not that difficult. I mean, we've been doing rates for
Well,
30-plus years.
That's what I'm
Frankly,
saying.
it ain't that
It's-
difficult.
Well,
It's, if you're gonna give a reason for an $800 difference, you know, I know it's crazy discussion again, but I wish that we had the ability to give a one-time bonus in addition to salary. Because I
For
mean,
exceptional-
I can
for
look at
something
Mr. Kim and
exceptional.
say, we worked on reducing our overall GPA property and casualty premium by, in my opinion, a substantial amount. And it wasn't, and I just kept on pushing him until he said, you get that number down. And he did, you know, and
So-
that reflects, but you know, that savings in itself, again, those are, it's just unfortunate that we as an industry can't do that. We come from one where you're rewarded,
Yeah.
you're paid for performances.
Yes.
Either you get this or you get this, right?
Yeah.
And
A
unfortunately,
combination
we can
of
only
both.
do with this.
And we don't do across the board. Look how we're debating $800 differential between two CFOs.
Two positions.
Versus the Guam approach, 22%. Well, you know, and that's not,
Yeah,
that's not how we do it, right? We do wage surveys, we want to be competitive.
Okay.
And we want to have a basis for our ratepayers, that we didn't just pull this number out of the air.
Yes.
Okay, so what's your motion?
No, it's still the same motion.
Just to go to this
It's
number.
152,987.
which is the scale here.
It's a 6.7% increase.
But it's on the scale.
It's only in the 20th percentile, not in the 25th,
Yeah.
but it is $800 more than what we gave Mr. Kim, which is what we were all kind of kicking around.
Yeah,
Do
that
we
was
want to
the
make them
discussion,
equal or keep it separate? And my motion would give her $800 more than Mr. Kim.
And I second already.
Yeah. So now, any further discussion or? Okay.
I voiced my concerns already.
Yes, I agree with some of yours, but I agree with everything that everybody said. Okay. Okay, roll call. Aye.
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 Okay. Yeah, Zita, you got that?
Unanimous and magnanimous. But good job. She's done, our two CFOs have done a good job.
Yes, so now we have our one
Now
attorney.
we can, John.
One attorney is Teresa, and she's at, her total score was 4.1. So,
Yeah, I think, you know, just comments on that review as well as, you know, Teresa took on, you know, the role of dual hatting for GWA and GPA for the better part of 8 months. I think she did a great job, and her ratings show it, with a total evaluated score of 4.1, which is exceeds expectations. Close.
Did a great job.
Did a great job.
So her current pay is already below the 5th percentile, am I reading that right? Based on the
Correct.
2022 wage
is
survey.
that correct?
Right, okay, so.
Yes, that's correct.
So if you gave her the 4%, she would be at 132,953.
Which one, Mr. Chair?
Yeah, on the bottom section, if you look at the bottom section first.
There's a revised copy here. You know, make sure you get your,
this one, Simon?
Yeah.
No, use this one, the one that she put.
you're gonna get the revised copy.
Yeah, use that one.
Okay, so, it would be
Or 132 is at the
132.
10th? Is that the 10th percentile?
well, no, that's just the 4% increase. That's, first of all, let's start with that. That's the, it's 2, 3, and 4%. Those are the
Correct.
increases, okay?
Right, so the
So that
4%,
would take her to
That would take her
to the
to-
10th percentile.
that's what I just said, 132,
Correct.
955 is close to 132, 598. If we took her to the 15th percentile, it'd be 135 with what, a $2,000 higher raise. And for the record, the 25th is 140, which would be a $13,000 raise if we took her. So it's pretty evident to us that it's going to be a challenge to get everyone to the 25th. But we also want to reward our employees for good performance. She's actually the highest rated so far, and she carried the load for 2 companies instead of 1 this past.
Yeah, and I would also add that, you know, during the recruitment process, right, for a GPA attorney, that it wasn't exactly, we didn't exactly have people knocking down the doors, you know, when we were looking to fill that position. So, you know, a lot of that had to do with, you know, our salary and benefits package associated with the job announcement. So, you know, I would make the motion that we move Teresa to the 20th percentile, which would be 137,570, and that
Second the
would,
motion.
Okay, and I like that because that matches our latest attorney hired.
Yes,
and then
not even close.
Now it's
Well, it's
comparable.
closer.
No, it's close.
It's closer.
Well,
The
isn't,
current,
Her salary's still higher.
Just within 1,000.
oh, I'm sorry, what was the, what's her name?
130,
138.
138,353.
Oh, I see 135.57,
No,
130,
right here.
oh, I'm sorry, 137, Mike, I can't read.
You go to her, this is Marianne's.
Yeah, it's 137 in there?
Here, right here.
Oh, that's with the rate increase. Oh, she's at, oh, this,
138.
oh, this one
Rachel's at
says,
138
this one says okay, never mind. She's at 138, right?
yeah, and that would.
And Teresa, we would take, we want to take her to,
137,
To the 20th percentile, which would be 137,570.
Which is the equivalent of,
4% increase.
no, it's about almost 1.76% increase.
17%.
Yeah, if you're chasing the number.
17.5%.
1.08. 1.08.
For the vote.
Oh, 10.8%.
Yeah.
Okay.
No.
No, 8%.
Almost 8%, 1.8, yeah.
Oh, you did it that way, 8%,
good.
8%, yeah, yeah,
Okay, so
Okay,
that's the motion?
second,
Is already second.
second.
Okay.
And the number is 137,570?
Right, so this
Okay.
is, yes.
Which is the 20th percentile
Percentile
of the
of this
2020.
2022 scale.
Okay. Further discussion? Any further discussion? We're good? No further discussion? Roll call? Aye?
Aye.
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 Okay. Very good.
8%, Francis, 8%?
Yeah. Okay, so now we just need to talk about when our next meeting will be. Thank you very much. Uncle.
Just real quick, I know that the first motion annotated a start date, and just,
Oh, yeah.
just
Oh,
for
for the record.
clarification, for the record, all of them would apply on pay period beginning
Yeah.
December
12/31,
31st.
So.
And their first
Gina,
check would be in January.
The start date for this pay adjustment,
All pages.
all pay adjustment, but for the two that you do, John Ray already got his marching orders, it would be the pay period that begins with December 31st? For you?
2026.
20, that's the first full pay period, you have the same pay periods, right? That's correct. So that would be the first pay period for January, starts on December 31st. So that would be for both Teresa and Tully. Okay? Okay?
And jockey.
And John Kate, yeah, you're all together. Okay, so now we need to get on with the GMs, you're out,
Yes,
but the four of us.
John B.
Are you
Ford, you're
continuing?
thinking-
Yes, we're gonna
Oh,
continue, just so that we need to recess the meeting.
so should I just ask for,
No, go ahead.
Mr. Chair, just for the record, I'd like to request the Commission's approval to recuse myself from the next two evaluations. John being the general manager of my wife Beatrice Limtiaco, and Miguel Berdallo being my first cousin, so.
Okay,
Thank you.
Objection.
thank you.
No objections, Chair.
Thank you. Okay, so now, Commissioners, we need to schedule. Okay, so,
Simon leaves tomorrow.
okay,
Tonight, but I'm back Sunday.
you leave tonight, you're back on Sunday,
We're both gone.
you're both gone, when do you get back?
The following Monday. So we can start the following Monday.
Yeah, yep.
That will be the 6th, not the, what's
No,
that?
no.
19?
No, we're gone that week. We're
Okay,
gone.
so you're back on the 19th, it's a Sunday.
Yeah.
Right.
You're
So we
back
can-
on the 19th?
Yeah. Yeah.
Both of you?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, so we can do the 20th? No, I'm asking.
I'm good.
how's-
Simon, you're back. Well, he's back
I'm
already.
sorry, yeah, I'm back Sunday.
No, but
No, it would be the
we're talking the
following
20th. November
We're now at the
20th.
20th.
November
November
20th.
Which is a Wednesday, right?
No,
No,
it's a
Monday.
Monday.
Look at your
I'm sorry.
calendar.
Yeah.
Okay.
November 20th is a Monday. What time of the day would we like to do the
John
general
B.
manager?
This is John B.
This is John B. So,
I can do Monday the 20th.
okay,
Kia
what
ora.
time?
All day for me.
I'm
8:30.
8:30?
Yeah, 8:30.
Okay, no. So motion to recess this meeting to
November 20th at 8:30 a.m.
second.
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Got it?
Recess.
Larissa? Yes. You're good? Okay, we're done.
Okay. Everybody, thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Okay. Thank you.
Monday, yeah, send out.